school at Marymount like for you?
Well, I lived the north side of Wooster Pike in Marymount, and Fairfax and north of Wooster Pike, where all the athletes were. People south of, that lived in the big houses, they relied on us to carry the team. So it was different. It was different. I was telling other people before, I was in 5 different schools and 3 states by the time I hit the 3rd grade. So Marymount was a shock. The academic standards, even in elementary school, were a little beyond me. But I caught on, and it was good. And I tell people, education at Marymount really prepares you for college. I felt when I got to college it was easier than high school, to be quite honest with you. So that's kind of what it was like. It was a little shock when I got out because of diversity. There was one Catholic girl in our class, and no African American, no Asian, no whatever. So it was a little shock when I went out. And I played sports, so I had played sports with black guys before. Anyway, so that's what it was like.
How involved were you? Like, were you in clubs or sports when you were there?
Yeah, I was in the choir. I was in the choir, and then we had a thing. Do you still have the Breakfast Club?
Not anymore.
It's an a cappella choir. I was in that. I was president of that. And then I played all sports. I lettered in all sports until, I guess, my junior year, and then I quit football because of a knee injury. I just played basketball and track. Yeah.
And then after college, after high school, you went to college.
Yes.
And you majored in like some sort of science and medicine, right?
No, that's him. I was in theology.
Theology?
Yeah, I went to Cincinnati Bible Seminary, played basketball. Actually, I went there to play basketball, not get a college degree, but anyway. And I was there for 2 years, and then I went to Pacific Christian College, and then graduated, and then went to UC to get my master's in special ed.
And then, after there, you went to, kind of formed Child Focus. Is that?
Well, actually, I taught 1 year in public school.
Yeah.
And then I worked 10 years at a psychiatric hospital for adolescents. And then I moved on to Child Focus, and then I was there for 40 years.
What would you consider to be your proudest accomplishment throughout your career?
Raising 4 kids.
Yeah.
That for me personally, raising 4 kids, great kids, married for 53 years now. So those kind of personal things are what I consider milestones. As far as other things, as far as accomplishments, basically I hire people that are smarter than me.
Yeah.
And I turn it over to them and let them run it. So really the people at Child Focus, although it grew over the years, I do owe a great deal of thanks to the staff.
And so you Child Focus was really circled around kind of the children and the families.
Yes.
Is there one child that you think has the most powerful story, or one child that touched your heart in particular?
Well, I mean, to talk specifically about this particular child, it was a child who was raised in poverty. His mother was a prostitute, had 1 room, and so she did her business in the room where he was there. He was physically assaulted. So rough beginning for this kid. And not only that, his mother then started hiring her as a young kid for a carton of cigarettes or a bottle of booze. And so she was sexually abused quite a bit. So beyond that, and that's by the time she was 4 years old. So when she hit school, she was bullied and things like that, and she was very angry about a lot of things. So she would hurt people, literally. And she got into treatment. It took about 5 years, and now she's a young lady, married, kids. You would never know that she had a beginning that way. So that's the kid I remember most.
Do you have any advice for students at Marymount now?
Well, the advice is to know history and know biographies. And I'll give you an example. George Washington Carver was born in 1860 and was a slave. 1865, the freedom of the slaves occurred. His mother was kidnapped, and the people that had him as a slave decided to keep him as a child, as a son. He had to go to 4 different high schools to get his high school degree because he was African American. In college, he went to 5 different colleges. Started out in Missouri, went to Kansas, went to Minnesota, ended up at Tuskegee. This is a man who started a slave, and he died January 5th, 1943. I was born January 22nd, 1943. So that's how close we are in history.
Yeah.
But talking about tenacity, knowing that he wanted to keep going, so never quit. I'll give you another example is Albert Schweitzer. You might not know him, but he's a missionary in Africa. But he started out as an organ recitalist. He did Bach fugues and things like that. And he met some people who were from Africa, and they encouraged him to become a missionary. So he quit that and went to school for 4 years to get a theology degree. He went to Africa, and he said, these people don't need a missionary, they need a doctor. So he went back and took 4 years to become a medical doctor. And then he went back there and lived the rest of his life in Africa. He only came back to England to do organ recitals to make money for his African thing, and died there. So those are 2 examples of somebody, 2 people who, really took it upon themselves to change with the times. Schweitzer going to 4 different colleges, getting 4 different degrees, and George Washington Carver going to that many high schools and that many colleges. And he's the one that peanut butter, he did 257 uses of peanuts. And the reason why that was important is they were growing only cotton that depleted the nutrients in the soil. So they wanted a substitute crop that could come in and re-neutralize them. And so that's what the peanuts were. There you go. Is that a long answer? Sorry.
That's good. All right.